This week's podcast is brought to you by Avast, a global leader in digital security and family safety solutions for network operators and their customers. The needs of consumers are changing. Wherever they are, wherever they go, whatever device they use, they expect their digital lives to be seamless, simple, safe, and secure. With over 15 years of experience delivering award-winning security solutions with network operators, Avast makes it easy for consumers to manage their digital life security using just one simple interface. That's security for all devices, wherever they are and however they connect. Let Avast help you build a safer digital world for your customers. Discover more at avast.com/partners. That's avast.com/partners. Welcome to the Light Reading Podcast. This is Phil Harvey. I'm an editor here at Light Reading, and I'm joined on this podcast by Todd Grantham, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at Plume. Plume gets data from 15 million households and about 705 million devices around the world, and they've used the data to help us visualize what the COVID-19 pandemic is doing to home networks and how our work habits are changing. On this show, we'll discuss what Plume is seeing with all of its data, how it's helping us visualize that, and we'll talk about what Todd thinks might happen next. And we will do all of that right after this break. Okay, on the podcast today, please welcome Todd Grantham, the CMO of Plume. Todd, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for being with us on the podcast today. Is it Plume or Plume Designs? What is the working name of the company every day?
The working name is Plume, where it's officially filed as
Okay.
Plume Design, but Plume is our working name,
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. I got tripped up over a copyright. I saw it. I was scrolling all over the webpage, reading the data and looking at the visualization charts. Great job, and congrats on whoever put all of that together, because it really does give you like a quick snapshot of how things have changed so quickly in terms of traffic patterns in the home.
Yeah, thanks very much. It was a team effort, obviously, but it occurred to us quite quickly as COVID was showing how much disruption and how much change was going to be happening, that we were sitting on a pile of data that could really evidence that reality and what was happening today. So we quickly scrambled and put that together. The data team is always kind of looking at data in lots of different ways as part of the service that we provide to our ISP partners. So it was pretty straightforward to pull this together and be able to give people a bit of a reflection of the impact that was happening in people's homes on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's like I said, I guess visualizing it is something different. I know we've heard the numbers in different places, and from various sources that yes, obviously things are changing and so on and so forth. But to see it on a visual graph was quite compelling. So, how many households and devices is Plume able to look at or sort of gather data on?
Yeah, globally, we are deployed in over 15 million homes and currently have about 705, a little over 700 million devices on our Plume cloud. So we have a very robust view of what's happening in all kinds of countries throughout the world. So it's a big sample set that allowed us in the US and Canada to be able to drill down and even show on a city by city level. And we've added very recently even a quick look at some of the European countries of what's happening there. So with that much size, we have a pretty good sample set of what's happening.
Now, I know Plume has some robust software. You license different things to service providers, I think, depending on the provider's need. So where is that data coming from? Is it coming directly from the service provider networks, or is it also coming? Is it coming from the devices, the mesh wire Wi-Fi devices that you all sell?
Yeah, so all of the services run on our cloud. So all of our,
Okay.
whether it be our direct to consumer offering that we have here in the US and in the UK, or our ISP offerings, that that's all managed and run on the Plume cloud. So all of this data is anonymized and blended together of all of those offerings, the entire 15 million and 700 million devices.
Okay. And how many, just to set the stage for like what people are going to see when they go? Well, first of all, tell us where this stuff is located so that people can just go there and have a look.
Sure. Yeah, it's easy to find. Discover.plume.com, and it'll be right at the
Okay.
top of that homepage. That's the homepage for our business to business offering. The website for the ISP offering.
Hmm.
And there's a
Okay.
big panel right there at the top that you can click on and see the data. And right now we're kind of showing three pieces of information, trying to give a different look at how this is all hitting the world. The top graph shows the increase in the number of devices on a daily basis across
Hmm.
14 US cities. The next chart on there you'll find is us extrapolating that out to number of people that are now working at home during the day, and trying to
Hmm.
show, just quantify how much volume that is. And then the final graph is showing, we thought it would be interesting to kind of, we talk about working from home, but also watching from home. You're watching entertainment devices, and people are streaming and they're not necessarily always working. Kids are at home
Right.
now because they're not at school. So we tried to break it down by device types as well. So there's a third chart that shows by device types, by time of day, and where the usage patterns are. We've also given a chart for Canada and for Europe to give them a sense of the number of increase in number of devices at home as well. So three different ways to look at the data.
How big of a change was there, like between the number of active, users that were online during the day, like say in February? How big of a change was there between February and March, when some of the when really the, especially in the U.S., the COVID-19 stay at home or shelter in place orders started to go out and people really started to take the pandemic seriously?
Yeah, it's interesting, looking at the data, and we've spent a lot of time, and we've tried to add inside the chart. You can kind of roll over each of the day by day events. And when there's some certain spikes and things like that, we've tried to add some pop ups. Obviously, this news is coming so fast and furious, we aren't able to capture all of them. But it is really interesting to kind of look at how the different cities had reacted. Like I said, we've highlighted 14 cities for now, just to kind of give a sense of how they've been impacted. And as an example,
Hmm.
you saw Seattle, which of course was one of the first areas hit pretty hard by COVID, start to ramp up
Yeah.
sooner than the other cities. And almost by 3 weeks, it started to, the numbers of people and number of devices working at home ramped far earlier than the others. And then there's a very clear line when the federal government declared the national emergency. All of a sudden, all of the cities start to really lift up. But you can really see the patterns where the Bay Area and Seattle, which some of the early cities that got hit, were ramping before that. It's funny, we saw the data, and we took the data all the way back to the 29th of January to try to get, before the virus had really started to take effect in the United States. And there were two lumps in the Denver data, and we were like, oh, we must have a data problem. There must be an issue there. And February 4th, there was something happening, and February 7th, it's like, well, that the COVID wasn't really in Denver at that point. So we went back to the news. There were two big snow days that happened on those two
Oh,
dates in
huh.
Denver, and so we can actually even start to see things like that started to pop up. And then there's a lump also right around February 17th, which was, of course, the President's Day holiday. So more people were working from home.
Right.
So it is interesting to see the real big change from January on to March. And then it really starts to take off, obviously, in the middle of March.
And if you're able to see that traffic, that means that that traffic is going over either a Plume Wi-Fi device or is being processed by Plume software uh, somewhere in the home. Is that correct?
That's correct. So yeah, if Plume is providing the service to a home, then all of the devices in that home connect to the Plume cloud. So once we're connected, whether it be the Plume software in an ISP's gateway, or someone's using the Plume design devices, the SuperPods or PowerPods that extend range into the home. Once that software is running and someone is on the Plume cloud, then those devices all connect to the Plume service, and that's where this data is coming from. That's exactly right.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Okay. As I guess as we're looking, I mean, I note that you have lots of cities that you're able to show data on in terms of work from home data. What are some other, I guess, traffic trends that you're noticing now that people are sheltering in place and working from home more? As anything jumped out at you in terms of the I guess the online behavior relative to what you'd normally see?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things worth kind of talking about, and this is really shown in the busy hours at home graph at the bottom of that landing page. There, there, as you would expect, we've kind of cut the data in three ways. So Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So kind of a daytime and a nighttime. And then we've
Hmm.
also added the weekends as well. And I was expecting to see the big jump in computer usage during the workday, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And that's up about 115%. I was expecting the entertainment devices, and we classify entertainment devices as three types of devices: set-top boxes, like Amazon Fire Sticks or Roku's or things like that, smart TVs
Yeah.
that are connected to the internet, and then game consoles. So we loosely clump those together as entertainment devices. Those are up 53% Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And again, I think
Okay.
there's an interesting observation there about kids home from school that can't go to school, don't necessarily have access to online learning. Maybe obviously some people, while they're having to be at home, there isn't necessarily work that they can do at home on a computer. So there's there, and then maybe even some growth in unemployment. I mean, it could be any number of things that's driving that number up, but it's up 53%. That's a huge percentage. I think the other thing that jumps out at me anyway is the Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., the evening hours. Computer use during that time is up by 41%, which means, and I think a lot of people have started to talk about this, breaking down of that traditional workday, because now that we're working from home, we're having to be much more flexible, not just about where we work, but even when we work, because
Yeah.
kids are at home, so you're having to kind of spend time with them during the day, and you're having to catch up work in the evenings. There's a real
Hmm.
blurring of timelines now. So the fact that
Yeah.
computers are up 41% in the evening, I was not expecting that number to jump as significantly as it did.
Yeah, that's interesting. And on the entertainment devices, I wonder how many people, especially since a lot of people are, watching television over the top now. I wonder how many people have just been kind of leaving the, you know, TV on in the background as, on a news station or something like that, just to watch for local announcements, local info, stuff like that. It seems like, that's happened a couple of days here. I mean, I definitely keep a radio or television or something on just to stay in touch.
Yeah,
I'm wondering how much of that's going on.
yeah, very, very possible. Yeah, we of course don't want to go down to the detail level of what people are watching or anything like that. We certainly respect people's privacy and stay away from that kind of information. So it's hard to know
Hmm.
that, but obviously it's clearly up, and there's probably all kinds of reasons why it's up. To your point.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely shows that I mean, I think that's what's so interesting about this whole thing is that it just shows a behavioral change and, like you said, in what people are doing in reaction to working from home. And then I thought that was an interesting observation about how, yeah, people are maybe batching their work a little bit differently, especially if they're in a household with kids. They've got to maybe work at night when things are a little quiet, maybe reply to those emails then, and and
Yeah.
not in the middle of the day when they need help with schoolwork or when people are up and around doing things.
Yeah, yeah, and the weekend is also all categories: smartphones, computers, and the entertainment devices are all up on the weekend again, as you would kind of expect. But I think that almost is a manifestation of all of the economy lost when people would normally be going out to movie theaters or to dinner and things like
Right.
this, or getting outside. I mean, that's it almost quantifies how much more indoors people are than they normally are. You can actually almost see that impact on the weekends.
Yeah, I've I keep having this feeling of needing to do something different, but I'm watching a lot more television than I normally would, and each time I sit down to watch television, I'm going, shouldn't I be doing something else? And then I'm like,
Yeah.
well, but my options are pretty limited at the moment, so it's not too bad.
Well, I think to that point, we're fascinated to see, and this device data we update on a weekly basis because there isn't that much variation on a daily basis. So it didn't seem to be necessary to do it on a weekly on a daily basis. So, but we're very fascinated to see where this goes. To your point, as people settle into this new pattern and behavior, right now they're watching a lot more. Maybe they have the TV streaming, as you say, but in 2 weeks time or 3 weeks time, 4 weeks time, as we really get used to, if there's such thing as getting used to this kind of new way of of living, uh,
Yeah.
what will happen? Will that number continue to rise? Will computers shift? Will the time shift even more?
Yeah.
I think we're seeing still the very, very early days, first generation of this impact, and I expect over the next couple of weeks it's going to continue to kind of settle into a new norm, whatever that means.
Yeah, you've talked me into it. Now I'm definitely going to check on it every couple of days.
Yeah,
It's almost as if you work in marketing. I
almost.
Last question, and then I'll let you go. I want to find out, just in general, since this is coming via your, service provider partners, is there any service provider takeaway, when they're looking at this data and when they're noticing these changes in patterns and things like that? Like, what should service providers be thinking when they're noticing the new way of working?
I think in many ways, a lot of the lessons, a lot of the observations of these early days of COVID are things that the ISPs already knew were the new reality. That Wi-Fi and internet to a consumer is synonymous. That they are one and the same thing, and that there are
Yeah.
more and more devices and more pressure coming onto the home network to be able to handle a real diversity of device need and user need, and the expectations by subscribers and consumers is going to continue to increase. And so the experience that an ISP provides to their subscribers is of critical importance, and making certain that those devices get exactly what they need when they need it and where they need it. And so having a robust Wi-Fi solution, again, is not new news to the ISPs, but I think if anything, this has just accelerated that expectation. It's accelerated the need to make certain that they have a solution that's robust enough to handle that level of complexity and diversity. So I think that's the real reality. And again, I don't think we're necessarily going to stay at these levels that we're at right now, once
Mhm.
solutions for COVID are found. But I also don't think we're going to go back to where we were in January. So I think there's a new
Hmm.
baseline that's being set right now. And so ISPs, that's the calls that we're getting right now from ISP partners. And we've had a lot. Our business has not slowed down in the slightest. There's a lot of people now calling and saying, how do we get this platform up and running so that it's as stable as possible, given suddenly that before you would have one Zoom call or one video conference call a week at home because someone was staying at home, but now you're having two or three a day simultaneously, and
Right.
being able to handle all this diversity of devices that are coming in. That's really what they're now kind of not scrambling, but accelerating their programs to make certain that that's in place for them. So that's the big observation. Not necessarily new news, but
Yeah.
accelerated news.
All right. Fantastic. Todd Grantham at Plume, thank you so much for being on the Light Reading Podcast. I really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Phil.
I want to thank Avast for sponsoring this week's podcast. Avast partners with network operators around the world, protecting the digital lives of their customers. With over 15 years of experience delivering carrier-grade security solutions, you can trust them to help build solutions consumers can rely on to keep them safe today and to protect them against future threats. Let Avast help you build a safer digital world for your customers. Learn more at avast.com/partners. That's avast.com/partners. That is it. That's our show. Thanks so much to Todd Grantham for his time and insights. Thanks to our producer, Tian Fu, for making us sound good even when we don't. Thanks to you, dear listener, because if you weren't paying attention, we wouldn't be able to get away with doing all of this at work, or at home, or wherever. Please do tell a friend to subscribe, and thank you very much for listening to the Light Reading Podcast.